All right, so you know how this works. Listeners send us something they want us to do a deep dive on, and this one, this one really hit us.
Yeah, this is wow.
This one really resonated with us both. So this time around, we're doing a deep dive into the lyrics and an analysis of the track "Proud of Me" by Friday and Meek Mill.
Yeah, we got a request to take a look at the story within the song, so that's exactly what we're going to try and do.
It's one thing to listen to the song,
Yeah.
enjoy it, vibe with it, but what we want to do is like really unpack the lyrics, understand the key events, the relationships, and the emotional journey that it's telling us.
Really peel back the layers. And I think what's going to be really interesting for folks is, sometimes you listen to a song and you like the feeling you get from it, but to actually understand what's creating that feeling from like a storytelling perspective, I think is going to be really fascinating.
Right, because it is a story. And when you look at the lyrics, you're like, oh, wow, this is someone's life laid out, in a song. And so right away, the song kind of hints at this tough upbringing. And that line, young men just stay about the streets could get lonely, really stood out to me.
Yeah, right away, that sort of paints a picture of an environment where young people are kind of left to their own devices, And it makes you think about the lack of maybe positive influences or options they had around them, right?
Mhm.
It really sort of sets the stage for the rest of the song in terms of this whole idea of resilience and strength and the fact that he had to kind of figure things out on his own and that kind of, I think that loneliness that he's talking about there really sets a powerful tone, I think, that connects with a lot of people. That whole thing about environment shaping young lives. It's a pretty universal kind of thing.
Totally. And then we get this glimpse into the father's role in his life. That line you had, tell me how to fight. And it's like, okay, basic statement. But then when you connect it to the later mention of getting a gun, it's like, whoa, there's a progression there, a sort of like trajectory.
Yeah, it's like that early lesson from his dad. It almost takes on a different meaning when you consider that line about the streets and you start to think about like the kind of environment where that skill, that, physical self-defense would actually be considered essential.
Right. Like he's equipping him for something,
Yeah.
you know? And then there's this line, I was kind of mad. I ain't had one. It used to hit me two neppy blue calling in. And it's interesting because, even if we don't know exactly what two nappy blue calling in means, it still evokes this sense of lacking something, like specifically lacking something.
It's very specific, and it makes you feel like, oh, this was like a real moment in his childhood, where maybe it was something related to the cold, maybe not, but it was something that really stuck with him. And, those little details really bring the story to life. It makes it feel so much more real and personal.
Yeah, absolutely. And then amidst all of this, what seems like a pretty difficult environment, you get this line. I told bro, change ways. I'm praying here on sea jail to live another day. You can just feel the worry and hope in that.
Yeah, and it just speaks to the strength of that family bond. Even though they're going through these really tough times, he's clearly worried about his brother. He wants him to be safe. He wants him to make better choices. And I think that, that concern for family really shines through, even amidst all the other struggles.
And then comes this huge turning point, the father's murder. Right past the block, my dad got left on the scene.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't overstate the impact of an event like that.
Right. It's a life-altering event. And, the way he describes it, it's almost like matter of fact, which I think just highlights how sudden and how violent it was. And, the way he says, got left on the scene. It's just, yeah, you just know that everything changed in that moment.
Right. Like a before and after moment in his life.
Yeah.
And the pain that follows, the longing that follows. I mean, these lines are just brutal. Ain't no love shot him in his heart, a no chance, so I can't sleep.
Yeah.
But not the Pontiac, swear to God, I'd trade in all these riches to get Robbie back.
I mean, that is just raw emotion right there. The contrast between, knowing that his father is gone, there's no chance of bringing him back. And that desperation to give up everything he's achieved to just have him back, it's just so powerful. And I think it speaks to, what a lot of people probably feel when they go through a loss like that, money, fame. It all kind of pales in comparison to what he's really missing.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine having everything but still feeling that kind of emptiness? And I mean, that line, I got everything, but I just really want to hold hands with my old man on wedding day while we slow dance. I mean, that one just gets me every time,
It's such a simple wish, but it speaks volumes about what he's lost. It's not about, big extravagant things. It's about that connection, that simple joy of sharing a dance with his father on his wedding day. And the fact that that's gone forever, it's just heartbreaking. And it really makes you think about, those little moments in your own life and how precious they really are.
It really does. And so after this huge loss, he talks about having to grow up fast.
Mm.
Shit turned me a grown man for I was 17, had to go and play my own hand like he was forced to mature,
Yeah.
way before he should have had to.
Yeah, he had to become an adult overnight, basically, and I think that play my own hand really signifies this idea that he's taking control of his own destiny now. He doesn't have his dad to guide him anymore. He's got to figure things out for himself, and that's a lot of pressure for a 17-year-old.
And, I mean, understandably, there were thoughts of revenge. Got a Glock was hot, but I ain't stopped.
Mm.
What do you make of that?
I think that's a natural reaction, when you've experienced that kind of trauma and loss, that anger and that desire for revenge, it's understandable. But the fact that he says he didn't stop is interesting. It could mean that he didn't act on those impulses. Maybe he chose a different path. Or it could mean that he's still wrestling with those feelings internally, that he's still grappling with that anger and that pain.
Yeah, it's left kind of open-ended, isn't it?
It is, and it's interesting to think about, what that might mean.
So moving on from there, the song kind of jumps ahead to where he is now, walking on the stage there waiting for me, like 23,000. It's huge. That's a real sign of success.
Oh, absolutely. It shows that he's made, he's achieved a level of recognition that most people only dream of. And it's proof that, hard work and talent can really pay off even when you're coming from a difficult background.
Right. But it's not all sunshine and roses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he buys his mom a house. I just bought your mom a spot. But then right after that, he says, I'm walking around smiling on my face. Just know I'm hurting inside.
That's such a stark contrast.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important point. It's this reminder that outward success doesn't always equal inner peace. Challenges this idea that money can solve everything. It can't bring back his father. It can't erase those painful memories.
And that internal conflict that he's describing really comes through in those lines. $1 million curses turn $1 million dreams, $1 million on me. But girl, ain't what it seems. Having nightmares, I'm having nightmares. It's like the success is almost haunted, $1
million curses.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really powerful phrase, isn't it? It suggests that his success is intertwined with his pain. It's like there's this shadow hanging over everything he's achieved. And those nightmares, they really paint a picture of how deeply this past trauma is still affecting him even now. Mm-hmm. And he's so honest about, the limits of material happiness. I buy diamonds on diamonds on diamonds. Good Lord, chain after chain after chain was the world, but it seemed to be the only thing that made me happy. I lost my soul and I lost my daddy. That's a tough thing to admit.
It is. It's a moment of real vulnerability, and it speaks to this deeper search for meaning. He's achieved all this material wealth, but he's still feeling this emptiness, this sense of loss. And it really makes you question, what true happiness really is.
Absolutely. And throughout the song, you get these moments where he remembers people he's lost. Like Nim. It sounds like Nim did something really important for him.
Yeah, it's just a quick mention, but it shows how much these relationships mean to him. Even though these people are gone, their memory is still very much alive in his mind.
And the longing for Terry, it's the same kind of grief he expresses for his father. Swear to God, I tried in all these foreigns to get Terry back. And just to clarify for people, foreigns is probably talking about foreign cars. Those expensive cars that he's saying he'd give up in a heartbeat.
Right. It's like all that material wealth, it doesn't mean anything compared to the people he's lost. And that just shows you how deeply he valued those relationships.
And he also mentions Snoop and Bro. It's like he's carrying all these people with him, and his thoughts and memories.
And it's interesting because you don't get a lot of details about who they were or what their relationship was, but the fact that he mentions them at all shows how important they were to him.
Yeah, and that feeling of missing his father,
yeah,
it's like a constant presence.
Yeah.
Still be like, I miss you too. When I catch the nigga that did this to you, he gets sent to you. There's still that anger there, that desire for justice.
It shows that even though he has achieved all this success, the pain of his father's murder is still very raw. And that need for closure, for accountability, it's still very much there.
Yeah, it's like it never really goes away, does it?
It seems like these kinds of wounds, they stay with you.
And he connects these everyday experiences back to that loss. Skipping school, daddy didn't fuck the principal. She think I'm missing screws when really I'm just missing you.
Yeah.
My homie dad gonna pick us up. I want you to give me 2. I was kind of mad I ain't had one. He used to hit me 2 nibby blue colon in. I'm in the ghosty. I think of you.
Oh,
I mean, it's like these little things become these big reminders, you know?
It's like those everyday moments become triggers, And the way he describes it, it's so vivid. You can just picture him as a kid, skipping school, wanting his dad to pick him up, feeling that absence so strongly. And it's like a reminder that grief can pop up anywhere, anytime.
Right. And amidst all of this, he's also got this strong sense of family, especially taking care of his mom. CSE, making sure the family eat well, get even what they need. How about we always be well? Yeah, tell them what I do for my family. Just knew. I mean, well, it's like that's his priority.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like he's using his success to provide for them, to give them the stability and security that maybe he didn't have growing up. And it shows that even with all his personal struggles, he's still got this deep love and loyalty to his family.
And, buying his mom a house, that seems like a really significant moment for him. I just bought your mom a spot, and winning out, she was living PH. Can't nobody kick us out.
Yeah.
What do you think PH means in this context?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's not a standard housing term or anything, but it seems like he's maybe referring to a public housing or some other kind of unstable living situation that they were in before. And now with this new house, it's like he's lifted them out of that. He's giving them a place where they're safe and secure. Can't nobody kick us out. It's like a declaration of independence, a real sense of achievement.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. And then you get to this point where he's kind of reflecting on everything. Think about being make me money, rule the world, but you can't pay God with it.
Yeah.
I spend it all just to get back my nig. It's like this realization that money can't fix everything,
Yeah, it's like he's come to this understanding that there are some things that are just priceless. You can't buy back time. You can't buy back lost loved ones. And it's a really mature perspective. It shows that he's grown a lot and he's come to terms with the limitations of material wealth.
Mm-hmm. And despite all the pain, the loss, the struggles, he still ends on this note of, strength. I know you're proud of me. Look at all the shit I prevail. It's like an affirmation,
Yeah, it's like he's speaking to his father, saying, look, I'm still here. I'm still fighting. I'm still overcoming. And I think that prevail really emphasizes that idea of resilience. It's like he's saying, I'm not giving up. I'm going to make you proud.
So, when we step back and look at these lyrics as a whole, it's clear that Proud of Me is a really personal and powerful story. A story about loss and grief, about growing up too fast, about achieving success, but still carrying those wounds, And I think it really resonates with people because it speaks to those universal human experiences. We've all experienced loss in some form. We've all had to overcome challenges. And I think this song just captures that in such a raw and honest way.
It's like a reminder that even when people achieve great things, they're still human. They're still carrying your past with them. They're still dealing with pain. And I think that's what makes this song so relatable, so powerful. It strips away the facade of success and shows us the real person underneath.
Exactly. And it makes you think about, when you're listening to music or engaging with any kind of art, really, are there other layers there? Other stories waiting to be uncovered, other emotions that we can connect with. And I think that's something worth considering. It's like an invitation to dig deeper, to listen more closely, and to see what resonates with us on a personal level.
It's like this whole idea of empathy. When you really pay attention to someone's story, you can start to understand their perspective, their experiences. And I think that's a really powerful thing. It can help us connect with each other on a deeper level and build a sense of shared humanity.
Absolutely. Well, that was quite a journey through. Proud of Me. Thank you all for sending that in, and thanks to everyone for listening to this deep dive.
Yeah, this one really hit home. I hope everyone listening got something out of it.
Definitely. Until next time, keep those requests coming, and we'll keep diving deep. See you then.
Peace.
Yeah.